welcome to another episode of Sheroes Unlimited Behind the Book. I'm Jaynie Morris, founder and Chief Experience Officer at BoomerBabesLife. And as you all know, I'm making an assumption there, aren't I? I'm assuming that you've been following all of our Behind the Book podcasts. You've in streaming them on your favorite devices or watching us on YouTube. And you know that what we do is we look out for and we search for amazing authors that have something strong, something inspirational, something that has a message in their books, and we want to bring them to you. But in Behind the Book, we do exactly that. We go behind the book and have a bit of a chat with the author to find out about them and what drives them, and we do touch on their books as well. And remember, with our podcasts, make sure that you share and like and comment and give us your feedback, because that's really important. So without further ado, I'm absolutely thrilled. We've been chatting before we started our episode today, and I have to say I'm a little bit starstruck, because how I discovered this amazing woman is I am a bit of a TED Talk addict, and I like to seek out TED Talks of ordinary women doing extraordinary things. And in that search, I found Dr. Joan Rosenberg and her TED Talk. If you haven't seen it yet, the Santa Barbara TED Talk with Dr. Joan Rosenberg, make sure, don't go and look at it now. Wait till you finish watching this, but make sure that you do go and check that out. Dr. Joan, it's absolutely fabulous to have you on our program today.
It's a treat, and how can I refuse with such kind words? So thank you. That's very, very kind.
Well, now, Dr. Joan, you're a psychologist. You've got over 35 years of experience in the industry. You're an author. You're a speaker. You are on several advisory boards. You're a big personal development and growth advocate. As I mentioned before, you're a TED Talk speaker as well. And you're also the founder of Emotional Mastery. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
I think, at the very base, think of emotional mastery as giving you the capacity to respond as opposed to react. So that you have the ability to stay present to what you're feeling, experience it, and then make use of it in ways that are, in my world, positive, kind, and well-intended. And so that you can use it, that sense of yourself and your words to express yourself, to ask for things, or to support other people, or again, wherever your thoughts, feelings, and words take you, then you have the capacity to do that, but again, in a way that is well-intentioned towards others.
So let's take a step back then. Thank you for that. Let's take a step back. Let's go back into learning a little bit more about you that has brought you to that point of where you have created such a great organization and everything that you do now in personal development and growth. So as a child, in my research, I discovered that you were a bit of a shy child. How did that all affect you, and how has that helped you in your career?
It really, Steve Jobs says you can connect the dots looking back, and that's what I've been able to do. Yes, very true. I started school at a very, very young age, and as a result, I like to think of it as I was the smallest and youngest in my class. So I was essentially a year behind most of my peers. And as a consequence, I think that left me a bit more vulnerable to their whims and wherefores. And I didn't have the emotional maturity at that time, and I also didn't have the size at that time. I was small. I was a small kid, and I would, as I grew up, and again, this is still early childhood, I would look back and describe myself now as a shy and sensitive child. And I saw this quality of kind of not fitting in. that I felt like other people belonged, I didn't fit in, and I was very confused by that. And I would look over at my peers kind of off to the side and watch them laughing and the sense of belonging and seemingly so confident. And in my experience, it was like I had none of that. And so it really took some time, but it left me with a question as I grew up, because I was bullied throughout that period too. Well, certainly from childhood well into adolescence, and again, partly because of that vulnerability. And so the first question that I was dealing with was, how does somebody develop confidence? Because I didn't have it, right? As I got into my, go ahead.
No.
As I got into my professional life, and started work as a psychologist, what I started to notice then were certain patterns in terms of how people responded. And that then had to do with their difficulty tolerating or experiencing and moving through unpleasant feelings. So the second question that started to kind of move its way through my mind over time was what made it so difficult for people to handle unpleasant feelings or to deal with unpleasant feelings. And it turns out that the answer to the second question actually is in my mind, the foundational answer to that first question about confidence. And we can talk about how that weaves together.
Yeah, absolutely. I find that interesting, and thank you for sharing your story as well.
Sure.
In your career from there on in,
Yep.
would you agree with the statement that the experiences that you had as a child at school, that is a story that is more common with most children growing up, especially these days, because of peer pressures
yes.
and
Well,
things?
and I wouldn't say just these days. If I were to ask an audience of adults to raise their hands, then probably 70 or 75% of that audience would do that. And it would be asking questions of, did you feel different? Did you feel like you belonged? Right? Did you have confidence kind of growing up? And a great many of them will describe feeling different and like they didn't belong. So yeah, I think it's an experience that resonates with many people. The reality is we're not talking about it at those ages, so we think we're all alone with that, right? And that aloneness in the problem actually exacerbates the problem. It makes it feel even worse. Like I must be the only one going through this, and that's absolutely not true.
And not really being able to identify that they're unpleasant feelings, and they can get, and by not identifying that and having the tools and the personal growth and the wherewithal of how to deal with that, can become chronic and then can go into more chronic mental health issues.
Oh, absolutely. Again, I talk about it deeper in the book, but one of the worst things I see people do is turn unpleasant feelings into harsh self-criticism. And the reality, at least in terms of the way I look at it, we don't have control over what we feel or that we feel. We do, however, have some control over how and what we think. And so that I look at when people engage in harshly self-critical talk or trash talk or negative self-talk, whatever you want to call it, that is exponentially worse, and that is a thought hijack of unpleasant feelings.
Now, you alluded to your book.
Yes.
90 seconds.
That would be it. Yes.
Would that be this book?
It most certainly would be. What a coincidence.
Just happen to have a copy off my bookshelf. 90 Seconds to a Life, to a life you love. Now, Dr. Joan, you love unpleasant feelings.
I do love unpleasant feelings, yes. And that seems pretty odd. But, when you understand the power of being able to experience and move through those unpleasant feelings, when you really get it, you'll understand how liberating your life experience becomes. And as a result, you have, it's not about kind of staying stuck in those unpleasant feelings. It's that the whole range of your life experience it opens up, and it actually deepens the joyful, grateful kinds of loving feelings that you have too. So the truth of the matter is, here's the thing that I've said about it most recently. I was talking about this last week, and I think what I said was, Jaynie, is that not only are unpleasant feelings liberating, that when you understand how to make use of those and speak with ease, which is tied to being able to deal with unpleasant feelings, then you not only feel liberated, you have limitless opportunity. So it's the two of those are amazing. And so yes, I love unpleasant feelings because of the liberating and limitless nature of what it opens up.
That's a really powerful way to look at it as well, isn't it? To position it in your
in my world, it's true. I mean, I just watched time after time. I mean, you hadn't made a comment. We didn't even talk about how the work affected you, but hopefully it's in that nature that you realize that not only is it liberating, but when you can speak, and this is an important element of it, then it goes from not just liberating to it goes to limitless opportunity.
And that's one of the points of 90 Seconds to a Life You Love. And by the way, absolutely brilliant book, obviously. And again, to everybody that's listening and watching us at the moment, at the end, we'll let you know where to get this book if you haven't already. But what I wanted to say to you is that one of your colleagues has called this or termed it the Rosenberg reset. So can you share with us about 90 Seconds to a Life You Love, and how the Rosenberg, what that's all about?
How that fits in. Okay,
yeah, let's talk about that.
Right, yeah, because what I want you and the listeners to understand is that as much of as important as the reset is, and I'll walk us through it, what I will highlight even more is your ability or your capacity to deal with the 8 unpleasant feelings. So it's not think of the Rosenberg reset as the method, but that the real elegance to liberating your life has to do with those 8 unpleasant feelings. So I do trainings and consult, and I was at a seminar and I was teaching the material, and a colleague of mine looked over at me, introduces me, and then says something about this Rosenberg reset. And it was like, all right, okay, that works. So I didn't call it that. It stuck like that. And what it is think of it as a formula. So it's in answer to that second question. What makes it so difficult for people to handle unpleasant feelings? So the formula is 1 choice, 8 feelings, 90 seconds. And the 1 choice has to do with choosing into awareness, or choosing awareness, as opposed to avoidance. And you can think about all the different ways that you avoid things in life. So whether it's social media and screens, whether it's food, whether it's other kind of substances like alcohol or other substances beyond that, other drugs, or whether it's shopping for women or sex or porn for men, or I mean, the list goes on. And I think in the book, I identify at least 35 different ways that we can kind of distract and disconnect from ourselves. So that's the whole path of avoidance. And frankly, I don't want you to choose that. I want you to choose awareness. And awareness means being as open and aware of, being as aware of and in touch with as much of your moment-to-moment experience as possible. So you're leaning into whatever's taking place in the moment. And so choose awareness. That's the 1 choice. Then it's 8 feelings. And what I've found over time is that people struggled with roughly 8 feelings. And I've selected them for a given reason, which we can go into if you wish. But the 8 unpleasant feelings that I talk about are sadness, shame, helplessness, anger, vulnerability, frustration. So the first question is going to be like, why those 8? And because anxiety's not there, fear's not there, guilt's not there, then they're not there for great reasons. So the idea then is that it's these 8 because they're the most common everyday spontaneous reactions to things not turning out the way we perceive we need or the way we want. So that's why those 8. And that the goal then is for you to be able to experience and move through those 8 feelings as comfortably well as you can. So then the third part of the formula is 90 seconds. And that's really the answer to the question about the unpleasantness. And notice I never talk about bad or negative feelings, because these unpleasant feelings exist really for protective purposes. So I never look at them as bad or negative. And if we can get that language out of our system and say, well, they're unpleasant or they're uncomfortable or they're unsettling or they're unsomething, but it's in that realm, then I think you'll actually find it easier to lean into the feeling. So then what's the deal with the 90 seconds? The deal is that most of us come to know what we're feeling emotionally through bodily sensations. So think, for instance, that when you get embarrassed, most of us will experience kind of heat at the chest and into the neck and into the face. Now, someone looking at you might see redness, but your bodily sensation is one of heat. And the location is most typically kind of upper body and into the face. So the key here is that's neuroscience started to describe it's our bodily sensation that helps us know what we're feeling emotionally, in that kind of the early 2000s. And then Dr. Jill Bolte Taylor made an observation. She wrote a book called My Stroke of Insight. And she made an observation in that book that when a feeling gets triggered, and there's a rush of biochemicals into the bloodstream that activate bodily sensations, and that they flush out of the bloodstream in roughly about 90 seconds. So what bodily sensations are they activating? Like the example I gave with embarrassment. So the beauty of it is then, in order to stay present and to lean into and be in touch with those unpleasant feelings, it means writing or surfing, if you will, one or more, so that's the emphasis, one or more short-lived bodily sensation waves. And what dawned on me in this whole process and is kind of the key turning point for me around this is that it wasn't that I don't have the belief that we didn't want to feel unpleasant feelings. I think we do, because I think that those feelings are the essence of charisma and vitality. That's what helps us feel alive. So in the absence of that, we actually don't feel very good. We feel kind of numb and depressed and a whole bunch of other stuff. But the key thing here is that it wasn't that we didn't want to feel the feelings, it's that we didn't want to feel the bodily sensation that helped us know what we were feeling emotionally. And if I could find a way to help people lean into that, which is the formula, then people would go, oh, 90 seconds, I can do 90 seconds. And then they would be willing to lean into the feeling, stay present to what was going on. And once you do that, game changer, it changes your life.
Because I think that one thing that you just said that was really important as well is that unpleasant feelings, if we didn't have, it's good to have unpleasant feelings. Would that also be into play that if we didn't have unpleasant feelings, we wouldn't have contrast?
Right,
either.
right,
So
right. Sure.
Yeah, which then plays in perfectly to what you're saying here, is that of why we wouldn't want to avoid an unpleasant feeling, because by having those unpleasant feelings, it's giving us those opportunities to actually improve ourselves, like to improve our self-confidence as
Sure,
well.
sure.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah,
Yeah.
well, yes. I mean, for me, they're markers. I mean,
Hmm.
it might be that, oh, you know what, I've been disappointed by the way a friend has responded to me or failed to respond to me multiple times. If I get disappointed enough times, then I'm going to protect myself and say, no, I think I need to do something different. So I think of the whole range of our feelings, pleasant and unpleasant, as kind of a source of information.
Yeah.
But the idea is not to use them alone. We use them in conjunction with our ability to think and reason. So
And
it's not just thinking and reasoning, not just feelings. It's some combo of both.
and the formula, and with tying it up with 90 seconds, as you said before, I mean, 90 seconds then doesn't seem such an issue. It sort of breaks down the barriers of, oh, actually, I can explore what Dr. Joan's saying here. This could really help me here because I can do it in 90 seconds.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, and the emphasis I want to make is that it's one or more waves. It's not just
Mm.
a single wave. So, because people will complain that they don't go away. So.
Now, 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 leading into that, you have a great wave analogy that highlights that. Can you share that with our audience?
Are you talking about surfing the waves, or?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, the analogy that certainly, and it's interesting because I was telling people to ride the waves well before I came up with the formula, and so I was intuitively correct, but I just didn't have the science behind it. So, but what I would always do is liken it to walking along the shoreline, and that so if you do that and you watch how the waves kind of come and go, what you'll notice is that as you're on that shoreline and the wave comes up, it seems to hang and linger for a moment, and then it will wash back out into the broader ocean. So that's what kind of dawned on me in terms of how we handle our feelings, that feelings come and go. They don't stay. Feelings by nature are transient. The body tries to get back to a steady state. So that they're short-lived in truth, in terms of the physiology of it. But people start to think and then and get into thinking and memories, and the thinking and memories is what kicks off kind of that two aspects of what kick off that lingering quality to feelings. But yeah, so think of it as walking along the shoreline, and you're going to have just the ebb and flow of those waves, and that's why I say surf the waves. So boogie board, body surf, canoe, kayak, I don't care how you do it, just surf the waves.
I love that analogy. Dr.
Yeah.
Joan, our community is women over 50 worldwide. And at the time of us having this chat at the moment, we're in the middle of a global pandemic with
Yes.
COVID.
Yep.
So, of course, a lot of those unpleasant feelings are coming up everywhere.
Yep.
And we're very much aware of it with our community. We get lots of phone calls, emails. We get a lot of conversations in our socials with our Boomer Babes Life community,
Yep.
with those concerns and with those issues. Your book would be amazing for us all, especially right now. How have you got a couple of tips for women over 50 at the moment?
Yes,
How to deal with this?
be patient and be gentle. Truly, I from the very beginning, I've done many interviews around this topic, and one of the key things that I have been emphasizing is how important it is to be gentle with ourselves. We're all in uncharted territory right now. And if I look at the United States alone, we have a confluence of at least 4 different things going on at one time. So and it varies probably a little bit from culture to culture. It might be close in other situations, but certainly in our environment for the time being, it is the combination of the virus itself, which is kind of the effects. I've been talking about it as the effects are nonlinear. We don't know how any given person is going to be affected by it. There's not this sequence that we all go through. So it's the unknown qualities of the virus. The second part of it is the economic downturn. The third part in the United States is social unrest. And I would say the fourth part in the United States is political instability. So that we're working with four very big, potent influences with circumstances that continue to kind of change given what's happening.
Yes.
California just closed up again, for instance. So it was opening, and now because of the increase, it's the governor is suggesting we're encouraging a close down again. So we're in this very uncharted territory, and as a result, the way I look at this period is that it's a time of profound loss and grief.
Yes.
And a time of heightened vulnerability. So if you're, and I don't like to use the word anxiety, but if you're more anxious or more fearful, or you're more irritable, or you're more sad, or you're more disappointed, or you're, in this case, probably even more bored, I would say that is totally normal to what's going on. Or if if your irritability, if your threshold for irritability used to be up here and it's down here right now, makes total sense. Makes total sense. So the biggest piece of advice I could say is be aware that sometimes when you're angry and irritable or sad and disappointed, it's not just with the in the moment circumstances. If you're dealing with a partner or a spouse and kids, it has to do with the broader. It's enmeshed with the broader environment of what's taking place. And as a result, I really want you to encourage to try to go deeper when you're aware of feeling that way. And the second is be gentle.
Yeah, great advice. Excellent on that as well. I just want to change it up a bit before we let you go. So
I have time, so I'll follow.
Well, we're very grateful that you've got. We know that you're so busy and you're in such demand, and I hear on the grapevine you're in the middle of writing another book. Is that right?
Oh, I would love if that were true. I can't.
Oh.
No, I don't. I like the grapevine. I'll make sure I tell my agent that it's made its way to New Zealand and Australia that I'm writing another book. So.
I did. Well, I have to check on my sources, but I did get told that. So, well, maybe it's a sign, Dr. Joan.
I love this. Yeah.
I like it. Man, and make it specific for women over 50 only. There you go.
well, I'll tell you, I think that the next book would be on couples. I have an approach for working with couples. So,
interesting.
Yeah,
wow.
That I think is really important. So,
when that comes out, we get the first interview.
Okay. We can do it before it comes out.
Dr. Joan, what are you excited about for you, or in generally for the next 12 months?
For me, frankly, it's about getting the message of the 90 Seconds book out into the world. It's there's a poet, a kind of generational poet, Prince E, who talks about in one of his videos how Martin Luther King didn't have a dream; the dream had him, and which is a beautiful statement. And so part of this is that I think the dream has me. It's like the work and the messages in the book, I think, are so liberating that for me it's about serving that message. And the thing that I'm most excited about is really expanding the reach as much as I can to have people's lives fully touched by the work.
Well, this book, 90 Seconds to a Life You Love, hits just in the title in itself. It just hits us straight away because we all want to live a life that we love, don't we, Dr.
Yes,
Joan?
yeah, absolutely.
So it was a no-brainer for you to come up with the title then, wasn't it?
Well, I think the one of the early titles was 90 Seconds to a Great Life. But Life You Love actually captures it much more effectively. So.
And in this perceived time poor society that we live in, 90 seconds is easy for absolutely anyone. The other thing I wanted to personally thank you for as well, Dr. Joan, is that I live and I'm known as an eternal optimist. And so the word negative never comes into my vocabulary. So I love the fact that you're all about unpleasant feelings,
Right,
not
right.
not negative feelings.
Correct. That's absolutely true. Absolutely true.
That is so powerful. Dr.
Yeah.
Joan, if you had an 8-year-old Joan in front of you right now, what advice would you give her?
I spent some time thinking about that, and I think there's probably 3 or 4 really important things. One is I would encourage that child to have a dream. That to even at 8, to hold a bigger vision of what she wants in life. And so the second thing that relates to that is be willing to take the risks no matter what, to go after it. Third would be to understand that one, success doesn't come, no one succeeds alone. And the second part of that success in reaching the vision is that that we all kind of disappoint or fail our way to success. So it's staying the course and being willing to tolerate the undesired emotional outcome that happens as we stay the course. And then the last thing that I would want to say to her is how important it is for her to be able to speak her mind or to speak her truth. And that because I will tell you that if being able to experience and move through these 8 unpleasant feelings was not the foundation of my work, then one's capacity to speak with ease and say the things that you want to say, to whom, when, etc. Again, positive, kind, and well-intended. That speaking up would have been the foundation of the work. So the other thing that I would have emphasized to that young child is how important it is for her to take the risks to speak up and to speak her mind.
Beautiful advice. Thank you so much for sharing that with us, Dr. Joan.
You bet. You bet.
The book is 90 Seconds to a Life You Love. Dr. Joan Rosenberg is my guest on this episode of Sheroes Unlimited Behind the Book. Now, we also know that we're in our next issue of BoomerBabesLife magazine. We have an extended interview with Dr. Joan, so make sure you get that. Now, Dr. Joan, we do have your book available at the BoomerBabesLife.com website in our recommended reading.
Awesome.
So we are sharing this with absolutely everyone. And if you're watching or listening to this podcast right now, please go to BoomerBabesLife.com and go to our shop. And into the book section, you'll be able to order 90 Seconds to a Life You Love. Dr. Rosenberg, where else can you share all of your other social media for us as well? Where
Sure. Yeah. No. If people want to go directly to my website and want to try to contact me or whatever, they can at drjoanrosenberg.com, and that's Rosenberg with an E, not a U. And then if they want to get there's different downloads that people can get. One is actually the PDF of my Ease Your Anxiety book, if people want that. And then I'm on social media. I'm on Twitter. I'm on LinkedIn. In fact, there's a LinkedIn course out that people might want to watch on grief loss, how to deal with grief, loss, and change. And so Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. So
awesome. Well, and we will make sure, below this podcast and this YouTube video, we will have all of the contact details for Dr. Jones. So you'll be able to, if you didn't catch them then, you'll be able to get all of those details there. Remember, you can get 90 Seconds to a Life You Love from BoomerBabesLife.com in our shop section for our #1 recommended reading. And I can say definitely that this is the book, girls, that you want to get now. It is easy, simple reading as well, especially for somebody like me who reads a lot. I usually, now I have to make an admission here, Dr. Joan. I'm usually a scanner in books. So I go through the books and I read a couple of words and I got the whole thing. I couldn't scan your book.
No, you can't. I know what I put in it, and there's some unexpected ways, novel ways to look at things scattered through the whole book. So
there is
including harsh self-criticism, and for women, the importance of compliments. So yeah, there's I'm glad you couldn't scan it.
An awesome book. You're an amazing woman. Thank you very much, Dr. Joan Rosenberg, for being our very special guest on Sheroes Unlimited Behind the Book. We really appreciate it. We do invite you to be a guest. As you know, let's have you back on when you write that next book about couples, and don't forget that book that you're going to write about women, for women over 50.
Got it. Okay. All right.
You can tell your agent about that you heard it from
I will.
Jaynie Morris said as well. But look, and thank you everybody for tuning in once again. Sheroes Unlimited Behind the Book. Please remember, comment below and help us to share this. Share this through all of your social medias, your Facebook, your Twitters, your LinkedIns, your Instagrams. Share Sheroes Unlimited Behind the Book. Let's help Dr. Joan Rosenberg make an absolute difference with this incredible book. Leave your comments below, and of course, if you've missed anything else or you want to see any of the other episodes, all you need to do is to go to BoomerBabesLife.com. Go to the podcast section, go to Sheroes Unlimited, we're there, and share it all around. Share the love wherever you are in this amazing, beautiful world of ours. I wish you an absolutely fabulous day. It's Jaynie Morris here, signing out and saying, see ya. Hi, I'm Jaynie Morris, founder and Chief Experience Officer at BoomerBabesLife. It's been our absolute pleasure having you listening in, tuning in to this latest podcast that we have created just for you. Gorgeous, amazing women over 50 around the world, because that's what Boom Babes Life community is all about. Everything that we do, everything that we create, we have you in mind. We want to bring to you valuable content that helps inspire you, starts making you think a little bit more, helps empower you, helps to give you ideas and information that can help you. So if you've enjoyed this episode, which I'm sure that you have, we would love you to help us share it with the world. So please share this, please like, and of course comment. Give us your feedback, send us all of your details, and let us know what you're thinking. And of course, if you've got any topics that you would like us to highlight in any of our podcasts, please let us know that as well. Just send an email to info@boomerbabeslife.com.au. And of course, check everything else out at our website, BoomerBabesLife.com. Everything that you need to know, every tool, every video, every podcast. We've got a fabulous shop there that's got some brilliant inspirational books and audios for you as well. And of course, also at our website at BoomerBabesLife.com, you'll find out how you can get your latest issue of our Boomer Babes Life magazine for women over 50. So once again, thank you so much for joining us, and wherever you are in this amazing world of ours, please have an absolutely fabulous day.